What up, y'all? Back again. Okay, so today or this evening, it's probably like midnight. I'm doing something different tonight. I wanted to start from the very beginning of time to the first narcissist. Now, this would be for all my Bible believers, and it would be interesting to even non-Bible believers, but let's get started. So in Genesis 1:1, it says that God created the heavens and the earth, okay? And in Genesis 1:1, when he created the heavens and the earth, that he created all of the angelic hosts, all of the planets, our solar system, whatever, the earth and everything else. And there was also like entities and things that lived on the earth, okay? But then in Genesis 1:2, it says, then the earth was without form or void, and darkness was over the face of the deep of the waters. Okay, darkness is to represent the sin, and that something happened. There was a fall. There was chaos. Some people in the church today would like to tell you that that was God created the heavens and the earth, but then the earth wasn't formed yet. And in 1:2, it was started like that in a chaotic state, and then he formed it. It's not true. Between Genesis 1:1 and 1:2, there was a war, and things became chaotic. God never creates in chaos and then brings order. He always has order, and then it became chaotic when sin entered. So in Genesis 1:1, when God created the heavens and the earth, that was where Lucifer and all the angelic hosts were all together. That could have happened and could have been 1 billion years, 1 trillion years, eons, forever. And then in Genesis, between 1:1 and 1:2, there was a war in heaven. This is where the Lucifer fell with a third of the hosts of heaven, and probably some of the entities that were on the earth. And that's when the earth became chaotic, in a chaotic state. The earth was without form or void now, and darkness, meaning the sin from the fallen host, it was in the waters, where without darkness was over the face of the waters. A lot of people believe, and I believe also, that that's where the angelic fallen hosts, they were locked in the waters. And if you read in Jeremiah, it will talk about that there was a flood that Jeremiah speaks of that was before Adam and Eve, and this world was remade for humanity. There was Jeremiah's flood, it's called. But so the thing is Lucifer was the first narcissist. He's also called the angel of death, because until Lucifer fell and took the third of the host with him to fall with him, as they tried to usurp the throne of God, the Father, the Almighty, that there was no death. But the day that they fell, they were marked with death, all of them. And any sin that came after. And so, really, truly, Lucifer is the father of lies. He's the father of death and destruction, and every penalty that goes against righteousness. And when you follow people as if the pathological narcissists, you're going to find that they are exactly the same character. They may have started out as beautiful children of God, but early in childhood, they accepted this evil in them, and these evil entities to help them out maybe, but they took over. You never get help from the enemy. And so this is where the beginning of narcissism started, and it didn't start with no Greek story or anything like that. And a lot of people that doubt the Bible, or, a lot of people will say this is in Christianity that this is a new earth. They don't know. They don't know what the truth is about the word. That this right here could have been billions and trillions of years. So people that want to put age to the earth like that, then that's fine, and that's where that age would come from. But what happened was, I don't believe at all that God even necessarily kicked out the enemy, Satan, and a third of the hosts until they actually fell themselves, because, or declared war. But I think that slowly he began to descend into this type of individual where he was a backbiter, he was lying, he was trying to convince the hosts of the angels and run a smear campaign on God the Father. And God the Father let it happen, probably behind closed doors. Everything that happens in narcissism is behind closed doors mainly, right? Outside of the overt narcissist. But that's a penalty that everybody sees. If you hang out with the overt narcissist, then that's on you. The covert types, though, is most all of them. Okay, and they're not out and about. They're out and about, and they'll act nice. They'll act real reverent sometimes. They'll act real together. They'll act like people of Christianity, but they're not. And so a lot of times what you'll find is the narcissist is running smear campaigns, lies, and devising evil all day long, but it's behind closed doors. It's behind, shades and blinds. It's behind locked doors, and people will never believe you. And, I believe that these are things that Satan did, Lucifer did, and which turned him into what he had become after the war erupted in heaven and they were thrown down here. Then God did revise and remake the earth for mankind. And when he did change the earth and remold it for mankind, then again, Lucifer ended up in the Garden of Eden and convinced Adam and Eve to sin, which led to us having to deal with it too. But it's also that we can have choices that we make. God's a God of freedom and justice, so he wants you to choose. And when Lucifer fell from heaven, that was when all of the angelic hosts that were created by God had the choice to choose. And I don't believe that happened overnight. It happened over a period of time. His dissection from the heavenlies and the fallen hosts that went along with them. That's when they had their choice to choose, and they chose a third of them to leave heaven. And so when Adam and Eve fell, now those were our great grandparents, right? So now we all have the opportunity to choose as well, whether we want to live with the Lord God or we want to live in rebellion. And what you will find is a lot of times when you look at the narcissist, it's there's a lot of things that we both grow up in the same families, the empath and the narcissist, right? The black sheep and the narcissist, right? The black sheep and the golden child, the scapegoat and the child that's golden. Okay, and this is the thing. We were both rejected, okay? Disrespected and rejected and stuff, but this is where I do believe that the narcissist went wrong, is where they went into a state of full rebellion, and we didn't, and so this is what let these things in and got them to this opportunity to where they allowed these structures, these constructs to be built in them. They went on full rebellion. And I'm not a clinician, but you can look at the clinical studies of things, and this is what you will find, that there was a time period in life where they started to rebel early in childhood. But we both went through the trauma of the rejection, from the neglect, from not being validated and not shown that love. and security and safety that we needed. We all went through it. We just didn't all choose to go down the same road. And so these are just different things that happened to us and to them. And the same thing happened in the heavenlies with the angels that decided to fall and the angelic hosts that didn't. And I think that's why that after the flood of Noah's Ark, that God, made a pact with Noah, because that was kind of like the second type flood. And so he wanted to promise to mankind that he would never take down the earth again through floody waters of the whole earth. And so I just wanted to put that concept forward, because the second flood that occurred because there was a second incursion of fallen angels called the Watchers that ended up deciding to fall based on they lusted over human women. And so in Genesis 6, you'll find that fallen angels had come down, a set of about 200 called the Watchers, and they had mated or copulated with human women. And then that led to great big old giants in the land called the Titans, the Nephilim, and they were able to somehow copulate and corrupt all flesh. And that's why they won't talk about this in church very much, but that's why God created the second flood to occur. And that's why God had to lead animals to Noah's Ark and to the Ark, was because everything was corrupted, even the animals. Fallen angels were known to be able to shapeshift, so I don't know how that worked, or if they were somehow able to interject themselves into animals and procreate with them and make copulations. Some people believe that's where some of these raptor-type dinosaurs came from, and dragons and things that we don't see today, but we know there are some historical narrative based on that. But that's where you'll find these megaliths and monoliths, these 500-ton stones in Baalbek, these pyramids, these Machu Picchu in the mountains of Peru, high up in the mountains, with these megaton stones that were moved. But now that you'll see later on now that they were completely moved out of place, and the only thing that could have moved a 500-ton stone out of place on top of a mountain would have been large amounts of water. And so God leaves different parts of our history out there for us to see. I believe he leaves every era out there on the earth today. The pre-flood era, the era of the giants, and from the copulations, and then the era of different types of things in our historical narrative, because we've been lied to a lot of times. And so my point is the disembodied spirits of the giants of old, which were copulations, which were half fallen angel and half human, the Nephilim, that gave way to what we'd call demonic entities today, that they once were housed in flesh. They are roaming around. They didn't go to hell. They can be sent to hell and damned to hell if they're cast out through deliverance, but demonic entities are hybrids of fallen angels mixed with the human women, and may even be fallen angels mixed with some sort of chimera or animal type entity mixture. And so the disembodied spirits of the giants of old, or the chimera of old, are what we would call today demons, demonic entities, because they were once in flesh, and they once ravished flesh, and they want to be in flesh again, and they're insatiable. And that fallen angels are not demonic entities. They are different things. And so I just wanted to bring that about, because to some degree, some of what you are dealing with today are some of these different things, and they're not spoken of in church anymore because outside of prosperity gospel and, unfortunately, the modern day church is not preaching the true word. And so I wanted to put this out to give you guys an idea of a little bit of the biblical narrative. And if it was spoken right in the church today, they would probably have more followers in Christianity, because they have made it dry and they have taken all the life out of what the true word says and speaks. And so I just wanted to put that forth so that y'all know. I know I'll probably lose some subscribers, but it's worth it to me to get this out so that people know what they're dealing with. And sometimes the attacks that come upon you, they are not carnal, they're not fleshly, but they are of these different spiritual entities that have fallen. And it's good to know for you to deal with spiritual warfare correctly and to have the correct understanding and not to believe that these things don't exist. So if you're still on, give me a like, a thumbs up, a subscription, and love y'all. Peace until next time. Soldier up, y'all. We out.